Picture this. You spent your whole life bending over backwards to fit in, twisting yourself into shapes that don't even feel like you, all for a nod of approval from people whose expectations you didn't even choose to follow. You chase validation like it's oxygen, dodging judgment like it's a bullet, convinced your worth hinges on what everyone else thinks, not what you know deep down inside your soul. But what if that's the exact thing chaining you down? What if the secret to real happiness, unshakable confidence, and a life that actually works is letting go of all that suffocating noise? Michel de Montaigne, a guy who was light years ahead of his time, cracked this code wide open, and his ideas are like a roadmap to breaking free from the mental prison we build for ourselves every single day. Think about how much of your day gets eaten up by stress, all because you're trying to live up to rules you didn't write and never even agreed to in the first place. How many times have you bitten your tongue, second-guessed yourself, or stayed up late replaying some awkward moment, terrified of what someone might think, even if they have already forgotten it? Montaigne saw right through this. He spent his life poking holes in the myths we tell ourselves about who we're supposed to be, what success looks like, and why we let society's pressure cooker define us down to our bone. By the time you finish this journey, you'll see why the second you stop giving a damn about the stuff that doesn't matter, everything you've been chasing starts clicking into place like a puzzle solving itself. Here's the kicker. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring about everything. It's not about turning into some apathetic slacker who ghosts life's responsibilities or bails on what makes you tick. Montaigne wasn't saying to ditch ambition or love or purpose. He was telling us to quit obsessing over the need to be liked, to stop freaking out about rejection, and to drop the habit of dissecting every move we make like it's a crime scene. It's about living on your own terms, showing up fully in the moment, and realizing you don't owe anyone an explanation for being you. Not your mom, and not your boss, nobody. His philosophy flips the script. Freedom isn't about controlling the chaos. It's about rolling with it, embracing it, and finding peace in the wild ride. And Montaigne spent years watching people, himself included, trap themselves in their own heads, stuck in loops of worry, doubt, and what-ifs that never lead anywhere worth going. He asked the big question: why do we let random opinions steer our lives like we're cars with no brakes? Why do we cling to control when the world's a messy, unpredictable place that laughs at our plans every chance it gets? And why do we bust our asses chasing a version of success that might not even make us happy, just because it's what we've been sold? His answer was simple but mind-blowing. Stop caring about the junk that drags you down, and you'll find the space to breathe, to grow, to just be without all the extra weight. Imagine what happens when you quit chasing perfection. You start seeing your quirks as strengths, not flaws, and that shift feels like shedding a costume you've outgrown. When you stop begging for a thumbs up from the world, you finally start living for yourself, not some invisible audience that's probably too busy to care anyway. And when you let go of the reins, trying to micromanage every second of your life like a control freak on steroids, something wild happens. Things start unfolding on their own, often better than you could have planned with a decade of spreadsheets. That's the paradox Montaigne nailed. The less you sweat proving yourself to everyone and their dog, the more power you've got to shape your own story. Think about the coolest people you've ever met. The ones who just radiate confidence and pull you in like a magnet without even trying too hard. Are they the types who over-explain every move, fishing for compliments or desperately trying to win everyone over like it's a popularity contest they're doomed to lose? Nah, they're the ones who don't seem fazed by the small stuff, who shrug off drama and just do their thing without apology, living like the world's opinions are background noise, not gospel. Montaigne clocked this centuries before anyone slapped a label on it. Authenticity is what draws people in, and you can't fake that when you're too busy worrying about the spotlight or dodging every shadow. Here's where it gets real. Once you ditch the fear of screwing up or being judged, you unlock something priceless. Freedom that feels like a deep breath after years underwater. Freedom to take a swing at something big without overthinking it to death. Freedom to say what's on your mind without rehearsing it 50 times in front of the mirror. Freedom to just exist without some imaginary scorecard hanging over your head like a guillotine. Montaigne figured out that when you stop letting the world's opinions rent space in your brain, you're not just happier, you're unstoppable. a force that moves through life with a quiet, steady fire. It's like shedding a heavy coat you didn't even know you were wearing, one stitch at a time until you're light as air. And the wildest part, when you stop stressing over the nonsense, life doesn't just get quieter, it gets better, like someone turned up the color on a faded old TV screen. Your relationships start feeling real, not like some performance you're auditioning for. Opportunities pop up out of nowhere because you're not forcing every door open with a crowbar. Decisions get simpler because you're picking what you want, not what you're supposed to want according to everyone else's rulebook. Montaigne's big idea was that we suffer most when we fight reality. When we try to cram life into a perfect little box it'll never fit in, like a kid jamming a square peg into a round hole. Let that resistance go. And it's like the universe sighs in relief and starts working with you, not against you. Have you ever held back from saying what you really think, scared of the fallout, even when it's something that's burning a hole in your chest, or replayed a conversation in your head a million times, wondering if you came off wrong, as if you could rewind time and fix it with the perfect line? How much of your life has been sculpted by expectations you didn't even sign up for, handed down by family, friends, or some vague they you can't even name? Montaigne is like that friend who grabs you by the shoulders and says, "Dude, knock it off, none of that junk's worth your time and it's stealing your joy every day you let it linger." He wasn't just some armchair philosopher either. His ideas are a practical playbook for cutting through the mental clutter we pile up like hoarders. He dared us to lean into the messiness of life, to quit chasing flawless and just roll with the punches, because perfection's a ghost that'll haunt you forever if you let it. The deeper we dig into his world, the clearer it gets. Letting go isn't losing, it's winning in a way that actually lasts. A victory that sticks to your ribs like a good meal. Stick with me, because we're about to see how this mindset doesn't just change you, it rewires everything, from your mornings to your midnight thoughts. Now imagine waking up one day and realizing the weight you've been lugging around, the pressure to be perfect, the fear of screwing up, the endless shoulds, was all a mirage you bought into hook, line, and sinker. Montaigne got that we're wired to overthink, to wrestle with the future, to panic about what's around the corner like it's a monster waiting to pounce on us in the dark. But what if the trick isn't fixing every glitch, but accepting that some stuff's just out of our hands? And that's not a flaw. It's a feature of being human. That's when you start living, not just surviving, and the days feel less like a grind and more like a gift. One of his sharpest insights hits hard. Nobody's ever going to fully get you, and that's totally fine. Chasing their understanding is like chasing smoke in a storm. How much energy do you burn trying to explain yourself, defend your choices, or prove your worth a damn to people who might never see the real you, no matter how loud you shout? Montaigne watched folks tighten themselves up over petty drama, grudges, insecurities, little ego bruises, and thought, why are we doing this to ourselves when we could just walk away and breathe? He saw that most of what we freak out about doesn't even register on life's big radar. It's dust in the wind, gone before we know it. Ever notice how when you stop obsessing over something, a fight, a mistake, what do they think of me spiral, it just works itself out like magic? Or how when you quit chasing someone's approval, they suddenly start paying attention, like you flipped a switch you didn't even know was there? That's not luck. It's Montaigne's truth in action. When you let go, life flows, and the knots you've been tying yourself in start to unravel on their own. The problem is, we're hooked on thinking if we don't grip everything tight, it'll all fall apart. But he's saying the opposite. Loosen up, and watch it come together like a song finding its rhythm. Most folks miss this because they're scared letting go means losing drive, like it's a fast track to apathy or a couch potato life of reruns and regret. But Montaigne wasn't about checking out. He was about zooming in on what actually counts, like a laser cutting through the fog of distraction and noise. Not caring doesn't mean you stop showing up. It means you stop wasting your juice on stuff that's just static. Other people's baggage, pointless perfectionism, fear of the unknown that's coming whether you like it or not. It's like cleaning out your mental closet. Keep the good stuff that fits and ditch the junk that's been collecting dust for years. He had this thing about embracing the rough edges, not just in yourself, but in everything, from the weather to the weird way life twists when you least expect it. Life's a wild ride, he said. No matter how much you plan or stress, it's going to throw curveballs, and you can either duck or swing at them with a grin. So why not lean into that instead of fighting it tooth and nail, wasting energy on a battle you'll never win? Why not laugh at the chaos instead of crying over it, finding the humor in the spills and the thrills? Picture how light you'd feel if you quit trying to stage manage every minute of your day like a director with a megaphone and a nervous breakdown. What if you stopped agonizing over every what if and just let the chips fall, trusting they'd land somewhere worth standing? Montaigne's point is that every legend, thinkers, rebels, creators faced flops and haters, but they didn't let it stop them. They kept moving, heads high, hearts open. They kept going, not because they had it all figured out, but because they didn't let the crowd's chatter define them or drown out their own voice. Here's where it gets cool. When you start living this way, people notice, and not because you're shouting for attention like a kid waving from the back of the class. You're not forcing anything, not begging for a spotlight. You're just you, raw and real, and that vibe pulls folks in like gravity on a good day. Montaigne knew the secret sauce isn't hustle or polish. It's being real. And you can't be real when you're drowning in worry about who's watching or what they're whispering. It's like the universe rewards you for chilling out, tossing you little wins just for showing up as yourself. Ever wonder why some people glide through life, racking up wins without breaking a sweat, while others grind and still come up short despite bleeding effort? It's not always about brains or hustle. It's about headspace, about where you park your focus when the world's screaming for your attention. Montaigne's take is that when you ditch the pointless stress, you've got room to zero in on what's legit. Your dreams, your vibe, your next move, not the neighbor's gossip or the boss's frown. The less you cling, the more you gain, like a river cutting deeper when the banks stop fighting the flow. When you stop sweating failure, you're free to swing big, to take a shot at something wild without a safety net strangling your courage. When you quit needing a gold star from everyone, you get real with yourself, peeling back the layers to find what's been there all along waiting to shine. When you stop trying to puppet master every outcome, doors you didn't even see start cracking open, letting in light you didn't know you needed. That's Montaigne's genius. Not caring isn't giving up, it's leveling up. A power-up for a game you didn't even know you were playing. Take a sec to think about your own world. How much of your stress is tied to what other people might say, even when they're not even in the room? How many times have you shelved something you wanted because you were scared of the side eye, letting fear call the shots like a bully in your head? How often do you beat yourself up over old flubs like guilt's going to rewrite the past or earn you a medal for suffering? Montaigne is here to cut those chains loose. Yesterday's done, tomorrow's a guess, and right now's all you've got, so why not make it yours? When you grab that truth with both hands, everything shifts, like the world tilts just enough to let you see it fresh and new. You start walking taller, breathing easier, living louder, not because you got it all solved, but because you stopped letting the small stuff call the shots and steal your thunder. And we're not done yet. Next up, we're flipping a curveball. Letting go doesn't push people away, it pulls them closer, like a tide you didn't see coming. Stick around because this is where it gets juicy and the payoff's bigger than you think. Here's the twist. Detachment doesn't mean you end up a lone wolf. It's the opposite. It deepens the ties that matter, but the ones worth keeping close. The second you stop clawing for approval or freaking out over every little thing, something clicks. People start vibing with you more, not less, drawn to the calm you didn't even know you had. Montaigne saw that when you ditch the need to control everything, your image, their reactions, the whole damn script, life doesn't just chill out. It gets richer, fuller, like a song hitting notes you didn't expect. It's not about cutting ties. It's about letting them breathe, grow, and surprise you in the best ways. Think about how often you've wanted something so bad, love, respect, a win, that you squeezed it to death, smothering it with need and desperation. Ever notice how the harder you chase, the faster it slips away, like sand through your fingers no matter how tight you clench? Montaigne's big aha was that when you stop needing stuff to go exactly your way, it often shows up anyway, better than you pictured, like a gift you didn't know you'd earned. It's like when you quit hunting for your keys in a panic. They're always right where you left them, waiting for you to calm down and see. We're so wired to think control is safety. Like if we just try hard enough, we can lock everything down and keep the bad stuff at bay forever. But Montaigne called BS on that. No matter how much you plot or stress, life's gonna zig when you zag. And that's not a bug. It's a whole damn feature. He said quit fighting it, dance with it instead, and watch how the good stuff starts rolling in. Not because you forced it, but because you made room for it. It's not about giving up. It's about trusting the ride, letting the wheels spin without breaking your hands trying to stop it. Take your relationships. How much drama comes from wanting people to act a certain way to fit the script you've written in your head? You get mad when they don't follow your lines, hurt when they don't see you how you want, stuck when they don't say the right thing at the right time like a movie you're directing. Montaigne's fix? Let them be them and you be you. Stop trying to puppeteer the whole show and you'll find the real connection stick, the ones that don't need a leash to stay true. Here's the magic. When you stop demanding people fit your mold, they relax around you like they can finally exhale and just be themselves too. You're not needy, not clingy, just solid. And that's magnetic, pulling folks in without you even lifting a finger to beg for it. Ever met someone who doesn't care if you like them, but you can't help wanting to anyway? Like they got a secret you need to crack? That's Montaigne's playbook. Chill confidence beats desperate hustle every time, and it's a vibe that echoes louder than any shout. He tied this back to how we treat ourselves. If you're always fishing for a pat on the back, it's because you're not cool with you yet, still looking for someone else to sign off on your worth. If you're scared to be alone, it's because you haven't made peace with your own company, haven't sat with yourself long enough to like the quiet. If you need everyone else to act nice so you feel okay, you haven't built your own backbone, and you're leaning on shaky ground that'll crumble eventually. Flip that inward and the game changes. You're not just standing, you're rooted, unshakable, ready for whatever comes. Imagine shrugging off a snarky comment instead of letting it ruin your week, brushing it off like lint on your sleeve and moving on. Picture not losing sleep over someone's dumb opinion, or letting go of a grudge that's been eating you alive, freeing up that space for something better, like a laugh or a dream. Montaigne is saying peace isn't out there, it's in here, and once you lock that down, nobody can shake you no matter how hard they try or how loud they yell. You're not running on fumes, reacting to every jab. You're steady, and that's power. The kind that doesn't need to prove a damn thing. Now think about walking through life with that kind of armor. Not cold or closed off, but open, real, unbothered by the petty storms that blow through. You're not hiding from the world or numbing out. You're in it, fully, just not tangled up in the traps that snag everyone else, like a fish that knows the net's there but swims free. Montaigne wasn't about checking out. He was about showing up smarter, caring about what counts, ditching what doesn't, and living with a clarity that cuts through the haze. It's like pruning a tree. Cut the dead weight and the good branches thrive, reaching higher than you thought they could. So what's dragging you down right now? Some old fear, a what will they think loop. A need to be seen a certain way that's got you in a chokehold. What if you dropped it just for a day and saw what happened, let the air hit that spot where the weight used to sit? Montaigne is betting you'd feel lighter, freer, and weirdly more connected. Because when you're not chasing, people lean in, drawn to the you that's not trying so damn hard. That's the secret sauce. Let go, and the right stuff finds you, like a boomerang you didn't even know you threw. But if this is so clutch, why don't more people do it? Why don't we all just drop the baggage and run free? Why are we still stuck spinning our wheels, stressing over approval, clutching at control like it's a lifeline in a storm that's already passed? It's fear. Fear that if we ease up, the whole house of cards collapses and we're left with nothing but dust and regret to show for it. Montaigne is here to tell you it's the opposite. Let go of the garbage and the good stuff holds strong, like a foundation you didn't know was there all along. His vibe isn't reckless, it's sharp. Grounded wisdom, the kind that cuts through the noise like a blade through butter. He's not saying toss caution to the wind and hope for the best. He's saying quit wasting your spark on battles that don't matter, fights that leave you empty instead of full. Clarity comes when you drop the noise, freedom hits when you ditch the leash, and meaning grows when you roll with the unknown, embracing it like an old friend. Life's too short to sweat the small stuff. Montaigne knew that way back when, and it's still true in our messy modern mess. Think about your best moments, those times that stick with you, that feel like gold, The ones you'd replay if you could hit a button. Were they scripted to death, planned down to the second, or did they just happen unexpected, messy, perfect, like a gift dropped in your lap? Some of life's sweetest wins, love, breakthroughs, random joy, sneak up when you're not white-knuckling the wheel, when you're too busy living to notice the script's gone off the rails. Montaigne's like, see? Stop forcing it and watch the magic roll in, quiet and steady like a sunrise you didn't plan. Picture the painter who doesn't care if the gallery gets it. They just paint, pouring their soul onto the canvas, and it's fire that burns bright. Or the dreamer who says screw it to the naysayers, takes a leap off the cliff and lands somewhere huge, a place they couldn't have mapped out if they tried. Or the person who stops hunting for the one, loves themselves first, and then, bam, meets someone real, not a fantasy, but a flesh and blood connection that fits. That's the deal. Grip too hard and it slips, let go and it sticks, like a truth you can't unlearn once you've felt it. Montaigne's whole thing is that life's not here to grind you down. It's here to live, bumps and all, a ride worth taking with both hands open. Yeah, you'll hit snags, face plants, curveballs, but wrestling them into submission just wears you out, leaves you panting when you could be laughing instead. Flow with it, he says. Embrace the mess, crack a smile at the madness, find the good even when it's nuts, because that's where the real stuff hides. That's not weakness, it's strength with style, the kind that doesn't need a billboard to prove it's there. Here's the big payoff. You don't need to run the show to feel good. Don't need every light to turn green to keep rolling forward. You don't need a standing ovation to know you're enough. Don't need the crowd's roar to hear your own heart beat loud and clear. You don't need to dread the what's next, because the not knowing, that's where the beauty hides, in the cracks and the corners you can't predict or polish. When you quit chasing the world's okay, you're solid in your own skin, rooted like a tree that's weathered 100 storms. When you stop dodging failure, you're free to fly, wings wide, no net, just air, and the rush of the drop below you. When you let life breathe, the wildest stuff happens, not because you made it, but because you let it, stepped back and watched it bloom. Montaigne got this before it was cool. Wisdom's not wrestling life into a box. It's vibing with the chaos, moving with the beat instead of against it. So what can you shake off today? Some old baggage, a nagging worry, a need to look perfect that's got you tied in knots. What's weighing you down that's not even yours to carry? A load you picked up somewhere and forgot to put down. Imagine trusting that the pieces will fall where they're meant to, that the sky won't fall if you stop holding it up. Because Montaigne's money's on this. When you stop sweating the wrong crap, the right stuff shows up, quiet and sure. That's the juice of his philosophy, not some dusty old theory, but a living, breathing way to flip your world right side up, a lens that makes the blurry sharp. Thanks for writing this out with me. Now go let go of something small, a worry, a should, and see what happens when you give it room to shift. You might just surprise yourself, find a spark you didn't know was waiting, flickering in the space you cleared.